The news didn't knock politely. It kicked the door clean off its hinges, spilled coffee across the table, and demanded attention before sunrise. This is one of those mornings where the Toronto Blue Jays don't just whisper their intentions, they shout them through a megaphone, and if you blinked, you missed a move that says more about this season than 1,000 carefully worded press conferences ever could. Welcome back to the Blue Jays Report, because what has just happened is the kind of trade that changes the temperature of a fanbase and sends a ripple through the rest of the league like a sudden crack of thunder. Only moments after another video had barely settled into the YouTube algorithm, fate intervened in the most dramatic way possible. Out of nowhere, Jeff Passan dropped a bombshell that immediately hijacked the entire morning. The Toronto Blue Jays had made a move, not a rumor, not a whisper, but a fully formed, signed and sealed trade that sent Joey Loperfido out the door and brought Jesus Sanchez crashing into the picture like a storm front rolling in from the outfield wall. This wasn't a minor tweak. This was a statement, bold and unapologetic, and it demands to be unpacked properly. There's something almost poetic about the way this trade loops back on itself. Joey Loperfido, remember, arrived as part of the Yusei Kikuchi deadline deal, a transaction that continues to echo long after the ink dried. That deal was supposed to be a chapter. Instead, it's turned into a full saga, one that keeps rewriting itself with new characters and new consequences. Loperfido had his moments, flashes of promise that made fans lean forward in their seats, but baseball, much like life, is not always about potential. Sometimes it's about timing, fit, and the cold, unsentimental mathematics of a roster built to win now. Jesus Sanchez is not arriving in Toronto as a mystery box. He's more like a specialized instrument, designed for a specific job, and the Blue Jays know exactly when and how they plan to use him. A left-handed hitter with a pronounced appetite for right-hand pitching, Sanchez has spent his career making righties uncomfortable, turning their mistakes into loud contact and distant souvenirs. Against right-hand pitching, his bat has spoken with authority, while lefties, frankly, have had his number. This is not a flaw the Jays are unaware of. It's a feature they are deliberately embracing. This is where the trade starts to make sense in a way that isn't immediately obvious if you're only glancing at the headline. Joey Loperfido offered versatility and long-term intrigue, but his role in Toronto was becoming increasingly crowded and uncertain. Sanchez, by contrast, walks into the clubhouse with a clear name tag already pinned to his jersey. He is here to mash right-hand pitching, to lengthen the lineup on those nights when the opposition sends a righty to the mound and expects a comfortable evening. Baseball rosters aren't built on aesthetics, they're built on problems and solutions, and Sanchez is a solution to a very specific problem. It's also worth grounding this discussion in reality. Loperfido wasn't a teenage prodigy on the brink of superstardom. He arrived in the majors later, and while his recent season was genuinely encouraging, the Jays never fully committed to him when the stakes were highest. He didn't feature prominently when October came knocking, and that silence can sometimes speak louder than a hot streak in July. Sanchez, at 28, brings experience, scars, and an understanding of what it means to be targeted by pitchers who know your weaknesses and dare you to overcome them. The journey that brought Sanchez here adds another layer of intrigue. He passed through the hands of the Houston Astros after leaving the Miami Marlins, a change that promised more than it delivered. In Houston, his bat never quite caught fire the way many expected, and his numbers dipped in a way that made him seem like an afterthought rather than a weapon. But baseball careers are rarely linear. Sometimes a player doesn't need a new swing, he needs a new context. Context is everything, and right now, Toronto's outfield context has shifted dramatically. The injury to Anthony Santander didn't just remove a name from the lineup card, it opened a door that hadn't existed before. With Santander healthy, this trade likely never happens. Without him, suddenly there's a gap, an appetite for depth, and a need for someone who can step in and do damage immediately. Sanchez fills that void with a sense of purpose that Loperfido, for all his promise, simply couldn't offer in the same way. There will be debates, of course. There always are. Is Sanchez definitively better than Nathan Lucas? Does this move truly upgrade the roster, or does it simply reshuffle the furniture? These are fair questions, and they don't have neat, immediate answers. What can be said with confidence is that Sanchez offers a more intimidating presence at the plate against right-hand pitching than what the Jays were running out there before. When a lefty comes in from the bullpen, Toronto has options waiting in the wings, from David Schneider to Miles Straw, ready to counterpunch. This is also a move that reflects a philosophy, one that has been quietly consistent under Ross Atkins. The front office is not hoarding potential for a distant tomorrow while the present slips through its fingers. Instead, they're trading from areas of surplus, accepting calculated risk, and betting that defined roles trump theoretical upside when the margins are razor-thin. It's not reckless. It's deliberate, and it speaks to a team that believes its competitive window is wide open right now. There's another name worth mentioning here, one that doesn't appear on the transaction wire but looms large over the decision. Dave Popkins has built a reputation for coaxing more out of hitters with raw bat speed, and Sanchez has that in abundance. The swing and miss will never vanish entirely, but in the right hands, with the right approach, that bat speed can be harnessed into something genuinely impactful. Toronto isn't just acquiring a player, they're acquiring a project they believe they can refine. If you're enjoying this deep dive and you don't want to miss reactions like this when the next bombshell drops, make sure you like the video, share it with fellow Jays fans, and subscribe to the Blue Jays Report. Moves like this don't happen in isolation, and staying plugged in matters more than ever. There is, undeniably, a future where this trade looks uncomfortable in hindsight. A future where Loperfido blossoms elsewhere, posting a strong OPS with solid defense and reminding everyone what patience can yield. Baseball history is littered with trades that age poorly, and anyone pretending otherwise is lying to themselves. But there is also a very real future where Sanchez plays a pivotal role, delivering timely home runs, punishing right-hand mistakes, and becoming one of those names fans remember when they look back on a successful season. What makes this trade fascinating is that it doesn't scream desperation, but it does whisper urgency. The Blue Jays are not tearing down the future, nor are they standing still. They are adjusting, responding to injuries, and reinforcing their belief that this year still matters deeply. This is a team choosing action over hesitation, clarity over ambiguity, and that choice alone tells you everything about their mindset. As the dust settles and the coffee finally cools, one thing is clear. This wasn't a random move made in panic. It was calculated, contextual, and undeniably bold. Jesus Sanchez arrives with expectations that are both narrow and intense, and Joey Loperfido leaves as another chapter in a trade tree that refuses to stop growing. Whether this gamble pays off will be written over the coming months, pitch by pitch, swing by swing. So now the baton passes to you. What do you make of it? Is this the right kind of all-in move, or a step too far? Let your voice be heard in the comments, and once again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Blue Jays Report. Because if this morning taught us anything, it's that in baseball, and especially in Toronto, the next big moment is never as far away as you think.